Hi, welcome to Ketobiography. I'm your host, Robin Dobbins. Our guest is a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, a certified expert in hair, tissue, and mineral analysis, and trained in midlife hormone mastery. She's a dedicated lifelong learner, having studied under keto pioneers like Doctors Bosworth, Westman, and Berg. After years of guiding clients through burnout, hormonal shifts, and the chaos of modern health challenges, she's found her calling in helping others rediscover balance and vitality through the power of nutritional ketosis and mineral optimization. Please welcome Dori Martin to Ketobiography. Hello and welcome, Dori.
Thanks. That was such a great introduction. I'm really excited and happy to be here.
Oh, I'm excited too. So I was looking at your website and the information that you sent to me, and you have quite a story. And I'm all about a good story here on Ketobiography. So, what I really like to do is just turn it over. I don't want to interrupt you. I want you to let you tell your story in the way you want to tell it, and then at the end we'll butt in with some questions. So,
Okay.
I
Button at any time.
I know. I've probably said this a million times on my own podcast, but I listen to podcasts and then like it's getting to the good part, and I'm like, I can't wait to hear it. And then the host says something, and they never get back to it. So I
Oh,
want
yeah.
to make sure you get to the thing so that other people they're not waiting on the edge of their seat and then left with a cliffhanger. So we were going to do the whole story.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, as Robin said, my name is Dori Martin, and I wanted to share my keto journey and be able to contribute the conversation of why this is such an amazing way of life, actually. So let's go back in time into 2014, 15. So I was engaged, and I was about to get married to my husband, my second husband, actually. We were getting everything ready, and at one point he came up to me and said he had something to tell me. And that was when he let me know that he was diagnosed with stage 4 gastric cancer. And he was trying to protect me. And there are a lot of reasons that I won't get into right now why he decided to. He was in a job where he traveled a lot. And so he actually did go through low dose chemo radiation. And they told him, none of this is working. Go get your affairs in order. And so that's when he told me, I don't want to make you a widow, and I wanted to let you know that I did all these things. I was really hopeful, but this is where we are. Um, I had just helped my dad through end of life a couple of years ago, and I had said to him when he started dating, whatever health issues you have, as long as you're trying to get healthy, I'm going to be by your side. And so he didn't want me to go through that same issue again. And also in my history, I lost my dad to cancer when I was 3 years old. I never got to know him. So he didn't want to have to tell me this. So it was a lot of fear too of giving that information to me when he knows my history. And so he gave me that news. We were in the middle of planning our wedding, and I talked to my boys, and they were, um, gosh, my math. I think they were under 11 years old. They were young. I won't get into math because I'm a little jet lagged, and that's another story. But I asked them, this is what's happening. And I'm realistic with my kids, age appropriate, but I'm realistic. I don't like pulling punches. I like giving them choices too. And I said, this is what's happening. They saw their grandfather through end of life, my stepdad. So they knew what that meant. And I said, we have this diagnosis, and I want to know how you feel about it. If we get married next year, this means, we might be seeing him struggle, and maybe he won't make it. And they said they wanted to stay. They had a really good relationship with them. And I just wanted to get their buy-in instead of this is happening to you. And at the same time, I knew that whatever happened, I was going to walk with him on this journey somehow. And he actually wanted to not get married because he just didn't feel right about it. And I said, we're going to be together no matter what. And I've committed, and I need to walk with you through this if you'll let me. And so we got married, and I was already, I just graduated from functional diagnostic nutrition. I went to my mentor and I said, hey, can we FDN this thing? What can we do? And he said, there is a clinic. So we went to the Gerson clinic and I learned about their process, and it worked until it stopped working. And now that we know about, the ketogenic diet, there's a lot of reasons why, with the juicing and, all those other things that, were probably helpful at one point until they kind of changed everything and sweeten their recipe, so to speak, and so it stopped working as well as it did. But I started digging everywhere, searching high and low, because I didn't want just another person taken from me from this horrible disease. And you could see books on either side of me stacking up. And it made my husband feel terrible, and because he didn't want to be a burden in my life. And here I was, this has become a big thing for me. And for me, I kind of feel like it was also because of all the family members. I had lost my stepbrother too in 2012 to bladder cancer. So just it's becoming more prevalent, and it's taken enough people from me, and I was just determined this is not going to happen again. It just didn't, I wasn't going to let it happen. I couldn't let my brain think that I was going to lose this wonderful man that I just found, and we just got married. So I did some research and I ran into, and this is why I like Dr. Ann Bosworth, Dr. Boz, because we had similar stories about the same time. Dom DeAgostino was talking about, he put the word ketogenic diet with cancer. So I went on the interwebs and I looked to see cancer cure, ketogenic diet. It was not there. Now we're finding books like Keto for Cancer, and my hero, Dr. Nisha Winters, wrote the Metabolic Approach to Cancer, which involves the ketogenic diet. So you're finding it here, but back in that time, it just wasn't there. And so I thought, well, we tried a few things. We tried the Gerson protocol, went all out. It worked until it didn't work, and we ended up trying the ketogenic diet. And my husband's kind of an all-in, black and white kind of guy. And so he went all in, and his work was very, very, and he refused to stop working. I mean, you figure, like, you have this going on, and he kind of burrowed himself into work, kind of just I think, sort of his way of dealing with it. But he was working 19 hours, and he was, on a mission. He works for the DoD, and he was keeping up. And then next thing you know, he's like outperforming other people that didn't have his diagnosis. And people were asking him what he was doing about his skin. I'm sitting next to him. No one's asking me about my glowing skin, but they're asking him, what are you doing? You look so good. And he had all this energy and he was mentally sharp. And, when they went to do the lab work, they said the tumors had stopped growing. And 11 years later, and he's here now with us, and he's been skydiving. He's military, ex-military, so he's like skydiving and scuba diving. He's a scuba teacher, and it's been really great for him. Well, the caregiver story comes in at this point, because lo and behold, I ran my labs because something was off about me. I had brain fog, and I just didn't seem to be able to, I don't know, my energy was off. I didn't feel right. I just felt like I used to be able to accomplish things, and I couldn't really do that anymore. Something happened to me and I felt broken. So I ran my labs and they were worse than what his looked like when it wasn't so good for him. And so that began my journey. And 2020 happened. We were kind of keto. I was working with an influencer who actually wrote a book called The Sugar Impact Diet and the Virgin Diet, which is a food sensitivity. And my job for a while, I was her director of health coaching, was weight loss resistance. But a lot of it was about sugar, managing sugar, taking all that out, and the different kinds of sugar that hides in our foods and all of the things, and food sensitivities. And so we saw a lot of really good results. And it actually, dialing back to the other part of my story, I had an eating disorder for a very long time in my life. And at some point I felt like such an imposter, because I'm coaching people about health and wellness. And I have this problem, this dirty little secret, had like Ben and Jerry's every day. And it was just like I was possessed at some point and couldn't stop myself. And I just felt horrible. um, when I started the elimination diet, because, if you're going to teach it, you're going to do it, it disappeared. It was like just gone. And I couldn't believe it. I was super elated. And then I was angry because I'd gone to OA, right? Overeaters Anonymous. I'd gone to group programs. I'd gone to personal counseling. I'd done all these things, read all these books. And it just, I felt like I was broken. And all of a sudden I took gluten and sugar and grains and all of that out of my diet, and all of a sudden it just shifted really fast too. It wasn't even like a month or a year. This took a little time. I have to do a little bit more journaling and soul searching. And so I thought, wow, this is really powerful and more people need to know about it. Um, but then fast forward to 2020, I have to say everything kind of went sideways and fell off the rails. And um, I stopped eating the way I was eating, and all the things came back. And at that time, I didn't realize also that I was going through menopause, because I thought, how did I lose it so badly? Because I was so on board. I didn't even cheat. I mean, that was really like such a miracle for me. And I fell so off. Um, I didn't even know where the wagon was anymore. And what happened was, I realized like I was running labs and I was doing my midlife hormone mastery. And it's funny how you can see other people and what's going on with them. And here I'm running my own labs. And if I had seen those labs and it was a client, I would have said, you are burnt out. You are running on fumes, sweetie. You don't have the bandwidth, the wherewithal, the cellular energy, the hormones to be ramping up a business. Like you need to take a break. But I didn't register that because I felt like, the world is shifting and in fear and thinking I needed to do all these things and change the way I ran my practice, build from the beginning. And yeah, it was really rough. And I, at some point, realized, I've got to do something different. I got to get back on track. And I remembered how amazing the ketogenic diet was for my husband. And so, and in between all of those things, I went on hormone replacement therapy, and I did all the things that, we're told to do as practitioners, the supplements and the lab tests and all the rest of it. But it was still not really righting the ship, because diet, as you know, is a huge lever. And without that being online, it doesn't matter what supplements you eat and, how much sunshine you get, it's not going to really make a huge difference. So basically, I went in to Dr. Braz's program, because I feel like when you do something in a group setting, I knew what to do. But when you do it with a group of people and there's accountability, and I don't know if you've read about Gretchen Rubin, where they talk about your 4 tendencies, but there's a character trait called an upholder. And that's the kind of person where if you say you're going to do it, by God, you're going to get it done. And that's me. So when I do it in group setting with accountability and I'm even leading it, then I'm going to hit my target. I'm going to make sure other people come along with me. And so I did her program. And it really worked. And it was so much fun because this is not for everybody, but I was like looking at my blood work and I was looking at the different numbers, making sure I was getting into therapeutic ketosis, and it became like a game. And everything shifted almost like relatively quickly. But I was still dealing with some other, just the fatigue, the reactive hypoglycemia, even though I was eating clean. I couldn't understand what was going on. And so basically, when you're going into ketosis, your body chemistry is a little changing. And when your body chemistry is changing, your body's needs change, and it's burning different kinds of nutrients and minerals. And so I run, as you had mentioned, a hair tissue and mineral analysis. And I found that the hormones that I was using to help myself was actually not able to be processed by my body. And it was causing copper toxicity, which will cause those crazy mood swings I was experiencing. And also, I was completely depleted and had very little cellular energy still. And also, my blood sugar it showed that it was off balance, and I needed to do some things to make sure that I got that back on board. And, the chronic stress and the feeling like I needed to save the world and didn't let myself just kind of be or exist in the world. It was a lot of the mindset and the self-talk that was really the last part I was getting. I had nutrition dialed down. Then I started thinking about different things that needed to be dialed in. And a lot of it was just doing nothing, taking a break, breathing, meditation, hanging out with friends, and just enjoying life. There was no joy in my life. This is around the time where I became an empty nester, and I'm taking care of my mom, who's aging, but luckily not in horrible health. But I interpret for her because she doesn't speak English as a first language, and so I am taking care of her. And then I'm helping my kids still. I guess I thought empty nesting means that you didn't have to take care of them, but that's not true. They're still there. They're just, now you're doing it at a distance, which is its own other thing. And so I think, through ketogenic diet, which has been such a lifesaver, and even in my husband's situation, the biggest lever. I mean, there were so many things that we did. It's not just that one thing, but it was the biggest lever. If we did nothing else, that was the biggest thing that was going to be a game changer for us. And that's why I'm passionate about helping people learn about it. But with the mineral balancing, I think that's the missing link. Minerals are the spark plugs to your body, and they're the things that help you with digestive enzymes and creating cellular energy. You need magnesium to create ATP and to able to have voltage, to create a charge, to have energy to do anything you need to do with your life. And so it's not either or. I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and you'd talk to Lori Ballou and FDN, and we run labs. But I like to start with this as a foundation, the hair tissue and mineral analysis, because it makes everything else work better. And it talks about detox pathways, heavy metal toxicities that will impact your cravings. It'll impact brain health, the high mercury, Mad Hatter syndrome, it does impact your mood, lithium. And so I feel like it's really good foundation to be able to help you. And everything I do is based on foundations and the small steps and just basic things that your body needs that we're not giving, like clean water and minerals and sunshine and rest. So basically, that's my story.
Just in a nutshell, you just go through like 20 years of history in
That's right.
10 minutes. No, it's amazing. So I want to just go back to your
Hmm.
husband, just to kind of put a fine point on that. So is he considered cancer free, or is it just managed very well because of how he eats, along with what his doctors are prescribing for him?
Right now, it's just really being managed. It's one of the interesting things that I learned from Dr. Anisha Winters that usually when somebody gets a diagnosis, of course, if there's an obstruction or something like that, get it out. But a lot of it is about the terrain and whether the terrain is able to let it proliferate. And Dr. Anisha has had her cancer dormant in her body for, I think, about 30 some years because her terrain is clean and it's not hospitable for the cancer to grow. And everybody has some cancer in their body. And so it's really more about whether or not your body is able to not allow it to proliferate versus totally get rid of it. So it's been well maintained. Maybe that's
Yeah,
the best way.
no, I understand. I have
Yeah,
recently, a family member of mine was diagnosed with cancer and had
I'm
to,
sorry.
go through all the treatments and all that, and it seemed very dire at some point. But um, with diet, and he was called the miracle by his oncologist because he did all the things, he did all the chemos and the treatments and stuff, but the everything started reversing. Like, all these things that were growing are now not, or they're either stable or they're going backwards. And of course, nobody asks that question. Nobody says, "Well, what are you doing at home to make sure this happens?" It's just
Exactly.
like, we did the right thing. But it's amazing what's possible. And I love that you talk about Dr. Winter's book. I actually read that years ago, and I had checked it out at the library. And when all this happened, I was like, I'm buying that book and I'm reading it again. I haven't opened it yet because I've read probably 15 other books about cancer.
There
And
are
I'm
a
like,
lot
I
now.
all new ones that I hadn't read before. So now I'm going to go back and read hers. It's sitting next to my bed. It's the next book on the list. But
Oh,
yeah, I mean, I know it's going to be. I remember it being amazing when I read it the first time. I know I need to read it a second time, especially having gone through this so recently. But it's just amazing. Exactly that. Like, not feeding these things to yourself is not going to feed this cancer. And we have this perspective right now. And I think I was having a conversation with a friend of mine recently, and it was like, we have this perspective in healthcare that if we give it a diagnosis, we can give it a medication, and the medication is going to at
exactly.
least keep you for this amount of time, and then things are going to go downhill. But that's what we expect. We expect you to get cancer. We expect to treat you with these medications. We expect them to stop working at some point, and then we expect to put you in your end of life care. And
Right.
we don't question it. We all have just kind of like jumped in the train and said, let's go. That's how life is going to work. Except for then us. We're jumping
The
off that
outliers,
train. Yeah,
those
we're the
darn outliers.
and we're seeing it and we're realizing it. And you know, there's no way to know if someone who has decided to cut all these things out of their life, their sugars, their glutens, or all this stuff, but there's no way to know if they've prevented
Right.
cancer,
Right.
right? We can't like get a statistic on that, but we can see people who have had it and watch them completely change the course of what is expected. And
Right.
we're not asking questions about that, of course.
No.
We're just gonna
Exactly. I mean, it's the standard of care, and not only are they expecting you to go through that trajectory, but they kind of change the marketing to survivor means 5 years, and it's 5 years of chemo brain and toxins in your body and basically a depleted microbiome, and they continue to tell you to eat what you want because now you're emaciated because you're cachectic, and so eat some Ensure or whatever it is that's going to give you some weight on you. It's just their system, and when they say there's nothing that you can do, it's nothing that the medical system can do, but there's so much you can do off the grid. And so it's really sad, and it is, I believe, um, doing harm in medication. I think I'll go so far as to say that because there is information out there. And when I was looking at all these information, the reason why I'm such a fan of Dr. Nisha Winters, and I've met her quite a few times, and she knows my story, Martin's story. We have her signature on a book of hers, but she connected the dots because I was already looking at all the things, and it made perfect sense. And she basically, that's kind of the book that people read when they get a diagnosis. I think it's quite required reading in some kind of oncological training. And so, yeah, definitely we have more information than we've ever had. And what I find is because I do work with people, and I work with them on the nutrition piece because for me, it's such a big thing. There's so many things that to oversimplify when you get a diagnosis, it's because of nutrient deficiencies and it's because of toxicities. Your immune system is compromised, and also you've had some kind of significant stressor, something that just stopped you, like your fight flight just went on and didn't tick off for maybe 5 or 10 years prior to that happening. In Martin's case, my husband's case, he had lost his dad a couple of years before. Plus, we were in a mold infested home. That probably didn't help. But we went deep into those different aspects, and so it is, I think, not when you try a ketogenic diet, I do think it's a big lever. It's one of those powerful ways to get started, and it there's a train 10 different aspects that come up when you have cancer, and it addresses many of them. And so why not, right? I mean, turn off inflammation and stop feeding it with sugar and clean up the diet, and things will shift. You're giving your body the basics of what it needs and how it was designed. And the reason why epigenetics, people are still talking about how it's your genetics, but it's a smaller percent than we thought. I mean, some people say maybe 10% is genetics, 90% is cancer. And so with epigenetics, I mean, it's the thing that creates what your genetics does. And so why not address that? And
yeah, we
I
can't
really,
let the billions of dollars that we spent
that's
on the
right.
Human Genome Project go to waste. We've got to
Their
like
days are numbered because we're here. Watch out.
we're knocking down all of these walls.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And so I find it really interesting. It's well, actually, I find it kind of heartbreaking, really,
It
that
is.
that's not breaking through. I mean, it really should be at least part of the conversation. It's not only do we have to go through this process, we have, you have an active cancer, you have to go through chemo, you have to go through whatever the treatments are. I get that. But also, let's lay out on the table that you can receive this medication better, it can be used better, and it maybe you need less of it, maybe you have better results if you plant that seed and fertilize that soil with a great diet to start with. It just doesn't make sense to us, but we live in that world, and I guess
Right.
maybe the argument is that the general population just wouldn't go for it. I'm
There's
dying
a lot.
anyway. Let me enjoy
Yes.
my treats. And
There's a lot of fear, definitely. And there's a lot of, I've even in a clinic that I worked in, they were saying, oh, the ketogenic diet is just so hard to maintain. Well, it is when you go in with that mindset, right? And at the same time, I think as with anything, it's dose dependent, meaning that, where are you in your journey and what are your goals? Because it's like anything, you're going to be able to navigate through it. And it really depends on what your goals are and what your body needs at the moment. Um, I can tell you a story about I went, I was in Taiwan. I just got back, hence the jet lag. If I don't make sense, then you can help with clarifying questions. I know you will. But what the time zone was different and the food was different. And the ideas of what it means to eat healthy, they had no idea what I was doing. And to I was just, that's another story, but unexpectedly living in with my cousins, and I was at their kind of mercy at whatever they were going to feed me because they had control of the kitchen. But they were so kind and they were so open-minded about what I was doing because I didn't realize when you're getting to your own routine. And as you were saying, you have friends and other people that you hang out with that eat this way as well. You kind of feel like, well, yeah, people know about this. No, they don't. And they thought this was the weirdest thing. You're going to have a heart attack and all the rest of it. But then at the end of the day, they said I could never maintain this. Like I can't. And there were a couple of people there who had health conditions. So I think it's straight up. I don't think I'm the kind of person who can get this done, and I can't maintain it. And then when a diagnosis happens, they say you have to do this or you're going to die, and they give you a date, an expiration date, which I call like the nocebo hex effect. And so there's a lot of fear. And the people that do find me, uh, they they are looking for something else. They're the stubborn ones that don't follow the rules, that color outside of the lines, and they're insisting on something else and something more. And those are the people who find this, and and I think that is true. It is hard for some people, uh, especially when you're scared and you have all these things. And, cravings are biochemical as well. It's not just psychological, as we've been left to believe, as you know. And so, they're fighting against that and fear, and there's somebody telling them that this is not going to be the right thing to do. And then family they have huge opinions about things. You're going to kill yourself, you're going to die, you have to do the chemo and radiation and not do anything else. You have to follow exactly what the doctor says. And so there's a lot of that going on as well. There's a lot of social pressure, family pressure, and fear, and all of that is working outside of their favor. So I really love what you're doing, because you're educating them ahead of time, because that's when you really are able to process and understand, not when the bus is already rolling downhill. And so having them understand and normalizing this way of eating, and understanding and hearing the success stories out there. And yeah, sure, it's not easy like initially to get started. I guess it depends on how motivated you are, but it becomes a lifestyle. And when I was in Taiwan, I had a lot of pressure. I mean, I had a lot of childhood memories, and they have snacks and street food. And because I got so used to this way of eating, and I know what it feels like to not eat this way, and it's frightening. There is no food out there that is so good that it feels better than a clear mind, good energy, and good health. And so that made it easy. I think it makes it so much easier when you know what it feels like to be on the other side of it. So I would say just try it and see how it feels. Take different like little steps, have an accountability like your group, which is something I really appreciate that you have support and accountability. I was listening to your interview and you said, I will go to your house and force you if I have to. And I was like, bravo, because I mean, you need that kind of like, not, accountability and somebody to guide you and say, this is what I'm doing and it's working for me and I know it's going to work for you. And I think that that's not something they're going to be able to give you in the medical system. That's not how they run things. They only give you 10 minutes. And so they have, and it's not to vilify them. This is how the machine is built. And so they only have 10 minutes. They have like different things to identify. They have a code for which diagnosis, as you said, and then they hand you a medication. That is their MO. And to heal you, sure, that would be nice. But what they're doing is addressing symptoms, not really addressing why it happened. And that's why functional medicine, integrative medicine, we're looking at why did it happen. And that's why, for me, looking at the foundations, we are living outside of our natural habitat now. And our food source is not like if we fed our dogs and cats the things we eat all day long, we would be mortified and to see what kind of stuff came out of them right after that, because that's just not normal. And so it's okay for us, but it's not okay for them, right? That blue stuff or that like weird chewy thing that doesn't like made from a lab. So I feel like just getting back to nature and getting back to foundations, it doesn't have to be super hard. And one of the things that happened with me and my husband is that he didn't buy into the functional medicine model. He only did it because he wanted me to feel like I was being involved. And so then he thought, whoa, wait.
I hope
And
there was a big "I told you so" at the end. No.
I should.
Yeah, it's never too late for a good "I told you so."
There you go. Yeah. Wait for him to come home and slap it on him.
Hey, just by the way, no, but I want to pivot just a little bit because now we've
Yeah.
kind of cleared that up. And I do want to ask you about your practice. But before that, I want to talk. This is like top of mind for me because I'm
Sure.
going through this. So I just had someone on and we talked for 3 hours. So as of this, it will have already aired. So we talked for 3 hours about menopause
Oh, wow.
because yeah, it's a big topic in my
Mm-hmm.
world. I was having the one hot flash lights off the other, hot flash lights off the other, hot flash situation, and
Oh,
it was no good. And it made me like dive into, okay, what do I need to do? So you say that's part of your story. I'd like to hear kind of how you managed that process. And then I guess because it sounds like at the same time you started doing some of the more functional things as well. So I'm just infinitely curious about different ways to manage this situation. So if you can
yeah.
enlighten me on how you handle that for yourself, and I suppose it's something that you also do in your process in your practice, so you can tie it
Right.
in there as well.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So as I said, sometimes when you're in the frame, you can't see the picture. And like how do I be human and go through menopause? What's up with that, right? So so basically, I had been doing a lot of the things for health and wellness. I'm a health coach. I like to follow my own advice. I don't like to, be a hypocrite. And so I felt like I was doing all the things. And maybe that's why when I was having crazy mood swings and I had energy crashes and I was feeling a little bit warm and nobody else thought it was warm. And I was getting a little bit forgetful and just like craving a lot of like sweets when I didn't before. I thought I had it handled. Um, I realized at some point it was mostly the mood swings, that Jekyll and Hyde moment where you're like, somebody channeled their anger out of my mouth and I can't take it back. I thought like something's going on. And then I realized, and I should have seen it. I mean, it was in my Dutch lab that it was headed that way. But the perimenopause, I mean, it can start as early as 35 and then into your 40s, you're kind of in the thick of it. And it can actually last for a decade. And some of the symptoms can continue on after, which is so unfair. And and so, a lot of us, what we end up doing is we kind of power through it. We kind of blame ourselves, shame ourselves. We push more than a little harder about all the things that worked before, not understanding our biochemistry is changing and shifting now. The hormones that used to protect us are ghosting us and leaving the building, and they do it in a very erratic way, kind of like that bad relationship where they're in, now they're back, and then they're gone, they're back, they're out, gone. So you get an influx of high estrogen, low, high, low until it kind of peters out. And so that causes so much chaos because that impacts our mood, energy. There are estrogen receptors all over our bodies, our brains, our bone health, everything. So it's causing a lot of disruption. And so in 2020, I was going through my midlife hormone mastery certification. And so I was learning a lot about what was going on. And I realized, a lot of it is lifestyle factors, of course. But then there are some things where it's nutrition. That's a big piece of it as well. And that's one of the reasons why I was continuing to struggle because I wasn't on a ketogenic diet. And it even said when you're going through menopause, it's most helpful. Estrogen is leaving the building, that you're less able to handle sugar. And that's why you're kind of almost self-medicating with more sweet foods because you're trying to get that serotonin, that energy, that good feeling back. And so that's kind of leaving. And so when you go on more of a low carb diet, and if you're trying to lose weight, maybe 20 or less, 50 if you're maintaining, and 75 plus if you're active, something like that. And so when I started doing that, things really shifted significantly. But one of the pieces of the puzzle, because there's a huge push to take bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, and that's definitely what my mentor had recommended. But one of the missing pieces is that people overlook, and it was mentioned in the program, it's just that I see in the general like social media and influencers, is that when you take hormones, it's something else for your body to do. And when we get into midlife, a lot of us are in burnout. And let's be honest, from the whole pandemic situation, as we're running lab tests, like the Dutch test, you're looking at cortisol and the circadian curve. And that's like, how well have you dealt with stress? Are you flatlined? Are you in this high stage of alert, in that fight flight stage? And a lot of us are flatlined or even upside down. And so when you are in perimenopause, menopause, so when you're young, maybe 25% of your hormones are being produced by your adrenals, and most of it is through your ovaries. And then when you get into like towards perimenopause, it's 50% is being managed by your adrenals. Well, your adrenals are still dealing with stress, fight, flight, those kinds of things. But when you get into menopause, and now it's 90%, and most of us are showing up with our adrenals already burnt out. And so without that being in balance, even if you take hormones, it's not going to be optimized. And actually, it's giving it something else to do. And it's something that shows up really clearly when I ran my hair tissue and mineral analysis, because it will tell you what it's doing, how it's processing the hormones, because there's a relationship with copper and estrogen. And estrogen usually goes high when you take external, especially when you're burnt out. You're not able to even receive it, or you need to detox it, because estrogen is a hormone of growth. And so what I did was, when I took bioidenticals, actually it upregulated I felt like there was a cloak that just wrapped around me, and it was gloom and doom, and it didn't feel like me, but I could feel that that was happening. And so that was happening constantly. And then I would be super irritable. I just wanted to break something. And so I knew that it was erratic, and I was taking the hormones. And in all fairness, it takes a while to get that dosage right. But when you are in a state of pure depletion, and when I looked at the HMA, my vitality ratio, which is the sodium potassium, was not there. I didn't have the cellular chart to even do something with that. And so I was bringing it in. It was increasing the copper, and that causes mood swings and energy issues. And it started breaking down and imbalancing everything else in my body. And so what I was trying to do to help myself, and this includes like, extreme exercise and workouts, and, we were taught to starve ourselves, right? Starvation diets, all those things. And now you're more nutrient deficient and all the rest of it. All the things that we were doing before that used to work back in the day, what we were taught, it's even worse. And, like you were saying, you figure being in the health space, we already know not to do those things. But a lot of people, you'd be surprised how many people still think. So I was in Taiwan. You're going to get really fat eating that way. Look at all the fat you're eating and all the protein. I said, I've been eating that way, because they said, oh, you kind of leaned out. And so they were afraid for me, because of the way I was eating. And so it's just, I think when you're able to look at some of the markers and kind of look at what's going on, it's your unique thumbprint to what's going on with your body, and how to help yourself. And then when you understand what's happening, how much cellular energy you have, what kind of thyroid is the hormone getting into the cell, or is it not being able to get in, that will show up. What's your vitality ratio? Do you have cellular energy? If you don't have cellular energy, if you're not able to make neurotransmitters, if you're not able to make the enzymes to digest, break down, and absorb food, it's a no-go. And people will feel like, I really don't care, I don't want to. And they're going to feel like it's their fault. And they're going to shame themselves and think it's a character flaw and feel horrible. And a lot of us used to be like, before this happened, go-getters, like achievers, high achievers, and we used to be able to accomplish things, just make it happen. And we were the ones that people asked for help, and we were the ones that helped everybody, cared for everybody. And now we can't even feed ourselves, right, or just get up and complete a task without burning out. And it's because of this cellular energy. And I find that for my situation, a lot of people in burnout, and I'd mentioned that I've been a caregiver and help people. My dad's through end of life and then cancer and parenting and now sandwich generation, which is not unique for people in our age and stage in life. Actually, I'm older than you are, so I shouldn't lump you into my geriatric moment. But anyway, but I think that a lot of us are being told to do certain things, but I think we're missing some big steps. Is your sleep dialed in? Do you have your circadian rhythm dialed in? I mean, that's really just getting up and getting sunshine at nighttime, turning off the light, because your body has a sequence of things it wants to do in the day. If it doesn't know what time it is, it doesn't know how much energy to allocate into your day. So I was experiencing horrible, debilitating energy crashes. And it's the worst feeling. I mean, have you had that happen? You have an entire day ahead of you and a to-do list, and the house could be on fire, but you're gonna go lie down because you're that exhausted. And so you start to worry about yourself and you start thinking that this is you're going to have a diagnosis if you don't already. But a lot of it is just total depletion. And the good news is that it's nutrition, minerals, and giving yourself those foundations, making the time and doing small steps, not overwhelming yourself. And I think the beauty of the small steps and foundations is that they're the biggest levers because they're exactly what your body needs. And one of the tenets of functional medicine is your body has the internal intelligence to know what to do. We are just getting in our own way. And if we just got out of the way and gave it what it needed on all the building blocks and, sleep, rest, and sleep and rest isn't just like I don't know, going to a spa. It's really giving your brain that break because mental chatter. So one of my sons likes martial arts, and he had a brain injury, and it was somebody said just reading or just thinking or even having to process anything in your environment uses brain energy. And so really rest isn't just like lying there and listening to an audible like I would or listening to some online program about something because I'm always learning, but just having silence or peace or space for your mind to just wander or even play or be creative, those kinds of things. And I really believe that's a pillar of health that's missing. And so those are the kinds of things that really helped me get back online. A lot of it was just extreme burnout. And now that I have things balanced out because I've looked at my minerals and I gave myself that healing process from extreme burnout, my adrenals are back online. What nature gave me in the way of being able to create hormones is back online, right? And so that I'll take that, 90%. It's not like it's going to replace that what you had in your 20s, but it's going to carry you through in a way that makes sense for your body because we're always using different levels. And so when you're taking bioidenticals, it's always going to be wrong a lot of the time, depending on what you're doing and how active you are and how stressed you are and how you're navigating through your day and your temperament. And so at least give your body a fighting chance to do what it knows what to do. And then if you feel like it, add on the bioidenticals. Keep tracking, though, your minerals because see if you're able to handle it. Plus, my liver was not so happy, and liver is necessary to detox that estrogen. And so you don't want that to proliferate and to be in circulation, especially when you're the one putting it in. So
Yeah,
that's bad news.
I think you bring up a good point because experiencing it myself, I was really concerned that something was wrong. Like I was it was a stress response. It feels like a stress response when you're going through it, and so we were testing that. Like we were trying to find out what was going on there. It's only because I worked with a doctor who understood that, and so a lot of times I think women are
Yeah,
going in getting treatment and it's here, take this hormone that's going to fix
right,
everything, and they're missing an entire giant large piece of the puzzle.
right.
And yeah, you're stressed out and you really can't handle adding more to that because it certainly feels that way. And yeah, we're all trying to help other people all the time and we're not helping ourselves. And it sounds like it's going to be a perfect miracle to be on all these treatments, but if you're not treating the whole thing, you're only getting a piece of it, or like in your case, potentially making it worse for yourself.
Yes,
So yeah,
absolutely.
I'm glad you bring that up. I think that gets missed. I think that gets overlooked. So yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. So tell me about, I guess, how you treat it yourself. Like what steps did you have to take, or slash you can, if you don't want to keep talking about you, how you help your clients through what they're going through, what your process is, because it sounds really interesting, the hair and all that stuff. So walk me through
Yeah.
how that works. And your foundation, I guess, is eating in a ketogenic framework, but then from there are you adding like vitamins or
Yes.
supplements or that kind of stuff? So
Yeah. So what I found is coming from functional diagnostic nutrition, it is super effective the way that they do things. However, for me, I found that the more I simplify, the better. And I'm all about the foundations. If you want to go to a specialist, I can refer you to people. But if you don't have the foundations down, you know what happens when the building doesn't have a good foundation. And so I like to work with these kinds of things. And so what we found is anything that really causes actually any kind of imbalance. Um, it's because of chronic stress, maybe some kind of traumatic event, or the way that you talk to yourself. I mean, it's like the thing that makes you feel like the world is not safe. So that's one aspect that I work with. And that is with, I am a certified yoga teacher, and I'm an EFT practitioner, which is like acupuncture with your fingertips to help calm your nervous system down, and meditation facilitator and breath work. And I like to work with binaural beats and other things that help with brain calming. And so I work with that to help with the stress, because if you're always in fight, flight, or freeze, you're never in rest and digest. I know that's oversimplifying, but that's really what it is. Even with the food, like being in ketosis calms your brain down because now it has a different kind of fuel source. It's not being starved because of all the processed foods and getting toxins and all these. I mean, biochemical stressors your body registers as danger. And so that's why keto, like a ketogenic diet or a carnivore diet, I actually skate towards carnivore a lot too. But that signals safety into your body because it has two different fuel sources. And also we become more mindful about minerals and nutrients, and it does burn a lot of minerals, and so you have to be mindful of that. But we are on top of hydration when you're in ketosis, and so there are a lot of things that are coming into balance in terms of the biochemical aspects. And if you go further on to carnivore, then it's more of the um, there's a lot of microbes that are being fed by the sweets and the sugars and the fibers even. And so when you take that out, you're actually cleaning that up as well. So for women, often when we show up, it is because we've been eating this processed diet, or we've been dieting, and so we have deficiencies. We don't even know what it feels like to be satiated, and we're afraid of feeling full because that means we overate. So this whole most everybody is disordered eating in one way or another because of the way that we were brainwashed or programmed, I like to say, growing up. And so a lot of it is just mindful eating, but also eating in a way that really feeds your body. And also because our biochemistry is changing, we want to be able to use ketosis or a ketogenic diet to get it back into balance and have that metabolic diversity. A lot of it is basically healing your mitochondria and your metabolism so that you have energy. And I think that that is a huge foundation. And that's one of the reasons why I really like the hair tissue and mineral analysis, because it is actually the thing that shows what your blueprint is on how you deal with stress, but also what deficiencies do you have? What deficiencies do you have? And it's actually the reason why I learned it, because of the cancer diagnosis, because a lot of times it's those nutrient deficiencies, but also heavy metal toxicities. And that will affect your mood, your energy. It's going to prevent you from being healthy. And it's sort of, if you look at an elemental chart, it will displace healthy metals. Like, for example, lead. I mean, one of the three of the dark horsemen of menopause are brain health, bone health, and heart health. Well, bone density, I mean, estrogen and progesterone are really important for bone remodeling. And so we end up like taking a lot of calcium. Well, the thing is, calcium is a not very smart mineral, and a lot of us have a lot of it, but it goes out of the bone and into general circulation. And one of the things that the test can show is if it's actually not behaving and going free range. So you want to do things to be able to get it back in. But also when you're going into the situation, when you bring in the hormones, it just throws everything off balance. So I foundationally, what I like to do is help them get onto ketogenic diet, look at what their minerals are doing, look at if there's any toxicities to get rid of. And what I was beginning to say, that's where jet lag was hitting me. It goes into your bones. Lead displaces calcium in your bones. And so you need to try and detox that and bring the calcium back in. And there are cofactors to be able to do that. And then you want to clean up your receptors for your hormones because it's like a lock and key over time. With the kind of lifestyle we have, a lot of us have toxins in our bodies, and the receptors are kind of like a dish. And if they're full of toxins and metals, then if you're taking hormones, it can't get in. So we want to do something to help support detoxification. And so there are different steps that we take to do that. And to calm the nervous system down, as I mentioned, with the tools, and then to be able to introduce hormones if you want to. Those are more advanced things, to be able to make sure that when you do that, you're monitoring how your body is receiving it. But mostly, I mean, it's just really the foundations of getting enough sleep and managing your blood sugar. And as you know, blood sugar is not just about the foods that you eat, but stress. Have you ever used a CGM? I used one and nothing bounced my blood sugar higher than a stressful moment. And it took a while to come back down. And so managing your stress or knowing what to do and how to navigate when that happens to get it back down as quickly as possible. And so those are the kinds of things that I really work on, really nutrition and sleep and movement, hydration, and a lot of mineral balancing, which I think is a huge missing piece because a lot of us are really depleted and don't really know. And that's when I think when people try a ketogenic diet or they try carnivore and it still isn't really doing the thing, you want to find out what the missing link is, what is the gap. And so this is a really good foundational lab that will give you an idea of where to go next. And so maybe you need to look at your gut health. And so we would do a GI map. Or maybe we have to look more into what's going on with your hormones and we'll do a Dutch test. And maybe when we're doing the foundations and the lifestyle factors and nutrition, your body's going to do what it wants to do and heal itself, which is a lot of times what happens. I think that sometimes it's overcomplicated. And sometimes when you're doing things to help your body, when it's not ready with all the supplements and all the labs and all the things at the wrong time rather, you're overwhelming the body. I mean, your body has to break down, absorb, and figure out what to do with it. And when you have no cellular energy or charge, you're actually doing harm. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing more foundation. Let's just see what your body can do and let's let it take the lead, not give it things to do when it can't do anything right now. It needs rest. So I hope that helps. You get an intake form and then we do the mental test and then we pull out and we talk about lifestyle factors, what's stressing you, what kind of toxins, including people, do you have in your life? Are there any ways that you can pare down what's on your list? Let's learn how to, when you're feeling overwhelmed, calm it down yourself and basically get the supports that you need so you're in that rest and digest state.
So I'll just say, where do people find you so they can connect with you and work with you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I keep it really simple, like everything else. And you can find me at dorimartin.com. And you know what I've been thinking, Robin, is that there's just like all these things that I can give that's really valuable. But I think the most valuable thing you can give to a person is your time and your energy. So if anybody wants to just, I'm not a salesperson, but if there's anything that they want to know about the process or I have an intake that they can take so they can find out where the gaps are and then we can troubleshoot what to do and actually give the person the resources to be able to get started. And that would be my goal on the calls. And then if it makes sense to dig a little bit further, then I would invite the person to do so. So
yeah, I do the same thing. I like to meet with people and just kind of get to know them first. I mean, I think it's important to like the person you're working with and or
yes,
build some
exactly.
trust, have a relationship. It's not just business,
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, the most gifted practitioner, if you can't deal with like talking to them and then that person's not going to be the right one for you. So absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then you work, it's not like in person, so you can work with people online.
Yeah, that's the beauty of what I do. I mean, basically the kit is drop shipped, or I can actually give you directions. So you could just send it to the lab. In the United States and in Canada, there are certain countries where I would have to maybe use another lab or something like that. But I love that simplicity as well. I mean, you don't have to go to a lab. There's no blood being drawn. You just kind of snip a bit of your hair out and then you send it to a lab and then you get the results. And then we just get on a call and I could do it in person or online and we start walking through and we take small steps and we make sure that it suits your lifestyle and what you're able to do. And we course correct as we go, because when things change, your needs change, and we get to your goal together with accountability. So
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Like, is it like a jump in and this is a program, I have it designed, or is it kind of we just follow the way the labs tell us to go? So
yeah, really
simplify
good
that.
question. Yes, we and we let the lab give us the blueprint, and then the person, I think most people inherently know what they need or what makes sense. And so a lot of it is collaborative. So I'm not the guru who knows everything. You know your body, you know how you feel, you know what your triggers are and what how you navigate through your day. And so we embed all of the different steps. And to your question about supplements, there's a place for that. I try and minimize it. It's not like you end up with 13, 14. I think functional medicine has a reputation for supplements. You need two hands to be able to take them. And then there's a time to take them and everything. And if you don't, you screwed it up and now you're hopeless. So I like to actually to minimize it as much as possible and use food as medicine. There is nothing more intelligent than nature, and they put it in the entourage effect, the cofactors, all the things together in beautiful sources, vessels to be able to nourish us. And so food is a primary source that I use. And then, little things to fine tune, because sometimes we do need that additional support. A lot of it is often minerals. And then, whatever you can get from nature. And so I like to do that. And then, if we end up doing something more advanced, then, we adapt accordingly. But for the most part, it's really as simple as possible and as close to nature as possible. And your body takes the lead.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. We've got, again, to go back to the way we've kind of formed the system now is that everybody gets the same treatment for every diagnosis, and it's not that way. It's so
No,
individual. And why we just accept it, like, oh, okay, that's what the doctor told me I have to do, so I have to do it, and we just do we do
that's
that
right.
thing, and it
Just
just
like
uh but we've all fallen. I mean, I make it sound like we're so enlightened, but it's not that. We all fell into it. It was just so easy to fall into it, and you said it earlier. We get in our own way. We make it complicated, and that's what we're doing. We're just overcomplicating everything, and our bodies are born to heal. They know what
absolutely.
they know what to do, and maybe we've just outsmarted ourselves and need guidance from someone like you to make it come back, which I'm thankful for people like you who are out there who are doing that. So it's been very interesting. I've really enjoyed this conversation. So everybody go to Dori's website. It's a beautiful website. It should
Oh,
be
thank
a
you.
coloring book with coloring outside of the lines, but it's not. It's a lot prettier than
There's a new idea though. I mean, I'm all about fun and joy and being outside the box. And I feel like those are the people that actually make things happen, like you.
that's your first test when you first meet up with somebody. You send them a coloring page, and
Oh,
if
there
they
you
give
go.
it to you and it's all colored outside your lines, that's the person for you. You to be able to work
Right. It's like
together.
if it's for sale, it's like, oh, I can't work with you. Go find someone else.
This is way too perfect for
You're
me. I'm
not my
sorry.
people. That's right.
That's just how that works. So I usually try to end with this question, and I reframe it every single time. So it's
Okay.
basically, what would you tell someone who's just starting out? What would you tell them would be
Oh,
the first step to get them started on this journey?
I think that there are so many things that's difficult. But I would say that success leaves clues. Find somebody or some people that you resonate with. And I think that anything big I've ever accomplished in life has been with community and people who are like minded. Find your tribe, find your people, because it could be a tough road ahead. And, it's really nice to have other people say, yeah, we are in a society where we blame ourselves. It's our fault. It didn't work. And I'm just, like you said, this is the cookie cutter. But once you start working with a group of people, you start realizing there's diversity out there. And the beautiful thing about people who are working on their health and wellness is that they're very open to sharing, like, yeah, that happened to me. Oh, yeah, do this instead. Or, hey, try this. This might work better. Um, or just like, yeah, that really sucks. I mean, even that is speaks volumes, is really helpful. This is really hard. And so I feel like finding community, I think that's like one of the antidotes to a lot of things out there, actually, is really, really powerful. And I think that if you're just getting started, just look around and see where there's success, find your people, and just get in there on the ride.
I'm inclined to agree. I think that community is just so valuable. We were not meant to walk this journey alone.
No, we weren't.
Yeah.
I think,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And that leads me, I said that was the last question, but I neglected to ask you that about what you do. Do you host groups as part of your business or
Well,
your practice?
yeah, so we ended up completing Dr. Boss's program, and she had said, really the best way to do this to teach people is in groups. And so we started something called the Keto Kickstart Collaborative. And I'll be completely honest, there have been some bumps in the road in terms of timing and navigation and everything. But we do have like the recordings, and it's basically a mini course, 4 steps, and then we have a Facebook group if you want to go in there. And we offer it up to people. It's sort of like on a sliding scale because we're not in it to make money. But for some people, they want to have some skin in the game. Fine, we'll take your money. But the thing is, I mean, that's not why it was built or why it was made. It's sort of like and that's why I really appreciate what you do and how you're doing it, because it was really with the intention of people need to know this. This was the biggest lever. Um, this is what your body is needing when it's having any kind of health condition or any kind of emotional situation. This is like a good starting point. So that's available if you want me to give you the link. It's what you get is 4 emails telling you how to get started and different things to look for. And basically, it was Dr. Boz's program for her groups.
Okay, so yeah, I'll add that into the show notes so that people can access that. And I think the value in the group thing, I think what it really boils down to, and I'm sure you probably agree, is that we're making this choice to go against the norm. So we are voluntarily uh, making ourselves an outsider among the people who are physically
So
the
true.
closest to us.
Yes.
And so it's important to find, like you said, find your tribe, find your people. We're out there. We're just not physically close, but we can certainly help each other in these group settings and share really the trials of trying to live this alternative in quotes lifestyle, which is actually
So
more
true.
not alternative than what the current normal, but whatever. But
Right. We're going back to
we're
nature, right?
we're going back to nature, so it shouldn't sound alternative, but it does to most. And it's very easy to talk ourselves out of it when we're constantly surrounded by other people who aren't in
That's
that
so
world.
true. Right.
Yeah.
There's so much fear and lack of information and misinformation that for some reason will not go away. All these myths about health and wellness. And, I've been in group programs where it's really freeing because I guess when you don't, there's some kind of anonymity. They're not going to go tell your mom. And so you can actually be really open and authentic. And there's this connection that you have that feels really safe. It's a safe container if it's run correctly. So, yeah, it's beautiful. And I highly recommend people who are listening that know about you to check into it. I think that's going to be a key to success.
Yeah. I well, because I host a group, so maybe I'm a little biased, but I'm inclined to agree. You can do all these one-on-ones. Now, one-on-ones with you with setting up a very specific plan. Yeah, that's certainly important, but just living the life and
Right.
learning how to navigate that life with other people who are also learning how to navigate that life is just really important. Just like any other thing, we want to be, if when we learn how to do anything, it's easier to learn it with other people. We're not sitting and hopefully, we're not doing school by ourselves. We're not doing these things by, these things happen
Right.
in groups for a reason. Our
Exactly.
family teaches us in a group. It's just that's I think it's just, but I'm biased, so maybe that's
Well,
part
you
of the
also
story.
started because you knew about the power of it. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so absolutely. So I think that's amazing that you're offering it and you're giving examples of what it looks like to be successful. And I've listened enough to that success isn't that you never, ever, ever fall off the wagon. You never have something that's a little, you know, carby, but it's like you just get back on. I mean, I think they think people think it's hard because they're thinking about perfection again, and it's in a lot of ways what got us here in the first place. This like being hard on ourselves and expecting something that's not reasonable. It doesn't exist. And real
Yeah, I guess
people doing
so.
the real thing.
Yeah, like, and if you really want to look at the bare bones of medicine, we're trying to create the perfect person, and we're medicating them into that spot. But honestly, we can't. We'll just never achieve perfection. And I say this all the time. If we achieve perfection, then what's the point? Like,
That's right. Part
there's
of
no
it is
point.
striving.
we're
Yeah.
just we're always going to be
Look at me.
trying
I'm
something else.
perfect. There's nothing
Yeah.
left to do. I'm done. It's like, how boring is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Ah,
I'm here and I'm
I'm
perfect.
not going to want to sit and have a conversation with Miss Perfect.
No, exactly. So we are just striving to be a better version of ourselves every single day. And some days are harder than others. That's just how it is.
And
So,
at the same time, I feel that it's a lifestyle now that, after a while, it does feel like normal.
yeah.
And I'm really surprised that when I was in a different country and it was like I insist it was like almost like a hazing moment, like at how serious and how embedded is this lifestyle for me. And it was an extreme practice of self-care to maintain that, but it felt good. Yeah. And it
Yeah.
was surprising how easy it was at that point.
It's really just the mindset that you have to have when you go into it, because some other people would not face that challenge in the same way. And neither is right or wrong. And you got a lot out of it. Somebody
Yeah.
else
And
might not be.
yeah, in all
Yeah.
fairness, I've been doing this for longer than a lot of people, being that I'm
Yeah.
old and everything and, menopausal. So
We established that earlier.
that's right.
Well, but I think that's also another important point. We're never ending. We're just going to keep going. But I think that's also another important point is that this comparison being the thief of joy, right? Like,
Absolutely.
you've been doing this for however long you've been doing it. I've been doing it for however long I've been doing it. And somebody else just starting just can't look at us and be like, I want to be like them. I started at day one too. It was just 8 years ago. And I had to go through all my trials to get to where I am now, as I'm sure you did, as everyone else did. And the only person we can look at is ourselves and how we're progressing individually. So, uh, again, it's been just wonderful talking to you, and I think it's time for you to take your after travel nap, get back on schedule so that you can help more people. And it sounds like you're doing amazing things in your work. So on behalf of myself and Dori Martin, thank you for hearing our keto biography.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.